Plantation Industries and Commodities Minister Dato Dr. Muhammad Khairuddin Aman Razali has apologized for violating the 14-day quarantine rule after receiving public backlash. Khairuddin also said on Saturday that he will be returning his salary as a minister from May to August to show his remorse. The forfeited salary will be given to the National COVID-19 Fund under the Health Ministry. Khairuddin also vowed to continue working hard and double all of his efforts and energy into carrying out his duties as a minister.
Now I know what you're thinking. Is this video going to be controversial? The answer, not at all. Is this video going to be insightful? Yes, because we don't talk about it a lot. So what you've just seen is something that people do every day, even in small certain communities or organizations. We seem to do it, but we always seem to gloss over it. So in relation to what I'm going to talk about today, under the topic of Akhlak in Islam, which is a very important thing, which is defined as your manners. How pure are you? The way you talk, the way you do things. How morally right are you? That is how Akhlak defines a certain Muslim. It can also be showcased like, you understand, if you have good Akhlak, then you must have good Islamic values in yourself. But here is the part where people may see it as controversial, but honestly, it's just something that we don't see a lot, and we need to talk about it more, which is holding people accountable. So that is the topic that I'll be talking about today, holding people accountable under Akhlak in Islam. So now you may wonder, what is relative between being held accountable and Akhlak? So let's define what Akhlak is first. We already told you that Akhlak is being a moral person, being a person that is well mannered and obliges to the all what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks a Muslim to do. That is being a person who has good Akhlak. Another particular component of Akhlak is being truthfulness, not telling lies. So that is what we're going to understand that will relate being held accountable and Akhlak, which is being truthful, being a person who says the truth every single time the chance presents. Whenever you're questioned, you're being truthful, and also by being held accountable. So this is why I understand it is relative to truthful. So Surah Hajj states that keep away from the filth of the idols and keep away from telling lies, dedicating yourselves purely and uprightly to Allah without equating anyone with Him. So with that being said, it is very clear that even our own God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, puts the importance of being a truthful person at the very, very most prominent role in improving our akhlaq and also maintaining a good status as a Muslim. So now we've talked about truthfulness. Let's talk about how it relates to being held accountable. So first, let's talk about accountability. Accountability is when you are held in a position where you will be questioned, examined, and rightly given treatment according to what you've done. If people question you on the good things or even the bad things, you need to answer it truthfully. Take example of two people. Let's take example of one person who is a normal person and one person who is maybe a minister or even a celebrity, an artist. No matter what it is, he has a high reputation in public, which is totally different from being a reputable person personally with friends or family or people who value you as a person. It's totally different. Being an artist and being a normal person is totally different because people will appreciate you in different ways. So for instance, if you were a normal person and you went to a supermarket and steal something, the degree of accountability of that particular action when you are questioned by people is a bit lower due to the fact that these people don't have that much of a coverage, don't have much of a public coverage and public questionality that people would see as, oh, he is doing something that is actually very wrong and we must condemn him for that. That is what people are scared of when being held accountable. But normal people may not have that much of a public concern compared to people who are well known in public. So this is why it completely changes how people are held accountable. For instance, if you are a minister and you actually committed a crime which is very heavy, you may actually don't want people to know, and that maybe it affects your performance as a minister, and people may not know why, and people may waste time believing in something that might not have happened or something made up due to the fact that these people need to cover their reputation, need to guard their reputation. So yes, reputation means a lot when being held accountable. Sometimes it means nothing if you are held accountable properly. But what it really means right now, for instance, in the case of what we've discussed, which is the minister breaching COVID-19 protocols and actually being punished with something that people believe is not on par with every single person on earth, in the country. A normal person with a salary which is sometimes 20 times less than the minister is what makes people mad, due to the fact they are going to be judged on the same level. So this is why these people need to be held accountable. Some people don't even ask much. Some people just ask them to be treated as how a normal person will be treated. A normal person will be fined, for instance, 1,000 ringgit if they breach their coronavirus protocols. Some people just want to see him get that particular treatment and be done in a fast time, in a fast reaction. But what makes people mad is the fact that he did not get that treatment because he was a minister. Why? Was he being truthful in what he said, what he believes, and what he did? Is very questionable due to the fact that he actually breached the protocols that his own government, his own organization believes in, protects. They even put it out online. They put it out in paper for people to follow. So that is not being truthful and not being appreciative of what a company or an organization is putting out. So the first point of this particular discussion is we're not holding ourselves accountable. For instance, we know that if things happen to other people, we have a large opinion, we have a massive opinion on that matter. But when it happens to us, it becomes a totally different story. For instance, you are caught taking drugs by your friend. Of course, your friend will not hold you accountable. Why would they hold you accountable? Because they're your friends. This is why it's a bit hard to hold everyone accountable. This is the particular reason what happened in the ministry when one of the ministers breached the protocols and they're simply not held accountable. They are not being measured in the same limelight as other people. If you hit a man, a person, two people will judge you. For instance, let's put an example: your friend and a person that witnessed the particular incident that doesn't know you at all. Who do you choose to be your friend at your side? Of course, your friend, because they know that they may have an unforced obligation to cover up what you've done. It's bad, but this is simply because it's human nature for sometimes certain friends to, for instance, like in school, they back you up. This is a bit hard to understand, and this is why it makes it very hard to hold people accountable. It is a minister who was breaching the COVID-19 protocol. Of course, what the ministry would have done is not talk about it a lot. Is to be low-key on it. Second part, we actually don't set clear expectations as a leader. For instance, let's take the example of the friends again. If I am your friend, I would set an expectation to you that if you do anything wrong, the right thing for me to do is to condemn you on the same level of any other person on planet Earth that would condemn you in the same situation. That is my expectation. Certain people don't set the expectation early on. For instance, maybe ministries don't expect that we must be held accountable on every single action they do, especially the bad things they do, which contradict what they believe. Even in Malaysia, we understand that we cannot actually condemn certain ministers for their actions. We cannot actually condemn certain political figures for their actions. This has been proven by a lot of cases. For instance, this. They are actually stating something true. But what did the police do? Rather than investigate the minister, they investigated the person who put up the comments on the particular minister, which was only critical, not in all harmful or in any ways wishing a person to die. No, it's just wanting justice. It's just wanting people to understand that they also need to understand the reality that we all make mistakes, but simply certain people are not held accountable. And the last point, which may be the most obvious in a lot of places, even in communities, is that we apologize when we hold people accountable. Yes, it's a matter of being polite, maybe, but that may be the case for things such as in work. When a boss asks his worker, I'm sorry for making this hard for you, or I'm sorry for asking this, but do you have the report for today? He or she says sorry first, which is actually apologizing and at the same time holding the person accountable to the matter if he or she had done the job. But in the case of what we were discussing about holding people accountable on what they've done wrong, it's totally different. Because we think that we're doing something bad by exposing bad things about these certain people. Exactly like it was showcased in what happened with the minister. We don't want a person, especially a person who is influential in the Islamic status of our country. Some people even say that if we actually condemn a minister who is prominently speaking about Islamic issues and handling Islamic issues in the state, it is actually something wrong, when in fact of the matter is, it should be done. This is how we show that the people can improve from criticism by the people. And we cannot simply say that if these people are Islam, they cannot be questioned in such ways that embarrass them, because that is simply the nature of being held accountable. So every single time when we apologize or we feel bad by holding people accountable, it's always the fact that we will never progress. You will never ever find a way to understand how being truthful actually is. So rounding it off, yes, sometimes in very certain matters, there are certain places that Islam allows us to be not truthful. For instance, in war. To that extent, not in certain particular matters where it affects a nation. That is already against what Islam teaches us. The art of not oppressing certain people by our own actions. The art of being a good leader. The art of having a Sadiq in us. The art of having the way that we believe is the right way. The reality is certain people are still not convinced of why being held accountable is important. But after this, what a lot of us hope is that people in the higher ranks, or even you watching this video, will also be held accountable to your actions, as it is what makes your akhlak good. It what showcases your morality. If you're held accountable, you are a very good person in morals. Hence, I would say your akhlak is very good. The motors. So with that, thank you for lending me your ears. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.